A new front has opened in the simmering trade war between the United States and Canada, centered on the massive Gordie Howe International Bridge spanning the Detroit River. This bridge, still under construction, is more than just a physical link between two cities. It represents decades of economic partnership and shared prosperity. But now, it finds itself at the heart of a growing conflict that threatens to reshape the future of cross-border trade. The Trump administration's steep tariffs, imposed on steel and aluminum imports, were intended to shield American industries from foreign competition. However, these measures have ignited a tense economic battle with one of America's closest allies, Canada. The tariffs have sent shockwaves through industries that rely on the seamless movement of goods and materials across the border, disrupting the delicate balance that has existed for generations. These tariffs have disrupted decades-old supply chains, driving up costs for manufacturers and consumers alike. Canadian companies, facing higher prices for raw materials, have been forced to pass those costs along, while American businesses that depend on Canadian parts and resources are also feeling the squeeze. In response, Canada has retaliated with its own tariffs, targeting American products and escalating the standoff. The fallout is hitting workers, companies, and communities on both sides of the border, especially in states like Michigan, where economies are deeply intertwined. Thousands of jobs depend on the free flow of goods, and uncertainty is growing among families who have long relied on cross-border commerce for their livelihoods. Local leaders are voicing concerns about the long-term impact on their communities, warning that the standoff could erode the economic foundation that has supported the region for decades. The bridge, a $6.4 billion Canadian project, was designed as a modern superhighway for commerce, promising to ease congestion and boost trade between the two nations. But now, its financial future is threatened by the very tariffs that could choke the flow of goods it was built to carry. Investors and policymakers are watching closely, worried that the bridge could become a costly symbol of missed opportunity if the trade dispute continues. Once a symbol of partnership and mutual ambition, the bridge now stands as a question mark. Will it become the vital artery of commerce it was meant to be, or a monument to a fractured relationship? The uncertainty surrounding its future reflects the broader anxiety felt by businesses and workers throughout the region. The answer will have profound implications for communities that have built their prosperity on open borders. Small businesses, local suppliers, and entire neighborhoods depend on the daily movement of goods and people. If the standoff persists, the ripple effects could be felt for years, changing the character of these border towns and the lives of those who call them home. As the trade standoff escalates, the stakes for North American trade and the future of this bridge have never been higher. Every day, millions of dollars in goods cross this border, supporting jobs and fueling economic growth on both sides. The outcome of this dispute will shape not only the fate of the Gordie Howe International Bridge, but also the broader relationship between two nations that have long depended on each other. The next chapter will determine whether this region's economic integration can survive the new era of protectionism, or if the walls going up will permanently alter the landscape of North American trade. For now, all eyes remain on the bridge and on the leaders tasked with finding a path forward. As governments trade blows with tariffs, it's the workers who bear the heaviest burden. In response, Canadian and Mexican labor unions are forging new alliances, building a wall of solidarity across borders. The Steelworkers Humanity Fund recently brought Mexican union leaders to Canada to discuss shared struggles caused by U.S. tariffs. Their message, international unity, is now a necessity, not a choice. Workers across North America are developing joint strategies to stand up to multinational corporations and disruptive trade policies. This collaboration is a direct response to lost jobs, shuttered factories, and anxious families. While politicians debate, unions are on the front lines, fighting to protect their members from economic fallout. In a deeply connected economy, the problems of one country's workers quickly become the problems of all. The political arena around U.S. trade policy is a spectacle of shifting loyalties, where alliances are constantly in flux and yesterday's adversaries can become today's allies. The debate over tariffs is not just about economics, it's a stage for political theater where positions can change as quickly as the headlines. Take Pete Hoekstra, for example. Once a vocal critic of tariffs during his time as a Michigan congressman, he argued that such measures would hurt American businesses and consumers. Yet, in a striking reversal, Hoekstra now defends tariffs in his role as ambassador to Canada, citing the need to protect American interests in a rapidly changing global landscape. He's not alone. Other Michigan politicians, once skeptical of trade barriers, have also shifted their stance. They now champion tariffs as a way to bring manufacturing jobs back home, responding to new national priorities and the demands of their constituents who feel left behind by globalization. This realignment highlights the intense pressure on elected officials to adapt, even if it means contradicting their previous principles. For many, the fear of political backlash, or being seen as out of touch, outweighs concerns about the real impact on their communities. While officials publicly praise tariffs as tools for economic prosperity and national strength, the reality on the ground tells a different story. Rising costs for raw materials, shrinking export markets, and waves of layoffs have become all too common in towns that once thrived on manufacturing. The disconnect between political rhetoric and economic truth grows wider each day, deepening uncertainty for business owners trying to plan for the future and workers anxious about their livelihoods. For families struggling to pay their bills and communities watching their economic foundations erode, political maneuvering in Washington offers little comfort. The stakes are personal, and the consequences are felt in every paycheck and every closed factory door. The inconsistency in policy and messaging only adds to the instability now pervading the US-Canada relationship, making it harder for businesses and workers to plan for the future. As uncertainty grows and local economies hang in the balance, the stakes for communities on both sides of the border have never been higher. Michigan's economy, historically tied to Canada's, is reeling from the trade war. US tariffs and Canadian retaliation have disrupted the flow of goods and services, threatening jobs and businesses. The closure of Howard Miller, a century-old Michigan furniture company, is a stark example. Tariffs inflated costs and shattered supply chains. Michigan's farmers are also suffering, with exports to Canada plummeting and incomes shrinking. Retailers and consumers face higher prices as the domino effect of tariffs ripples through the economy. Small and medium-sized businesses are pushed to the brink, unable to plan for the future amid constant policy shifts. The uncertainty paralyzes growth and stifles the entrepreneurial spirit that once defined Michigan. The state's story is a powerful case study in the real-world consequences of protectionist trade policies. Generations of shared prosperity are now at risk. The Gordie Howe International Bridge, a $6.4 billion Canadian investment, faces a grave threat before it even opens. Its financial model depends on tolls from steady commercial and passenger traffic, now at risk due to trade disputes. Proposed US tariffs could drastically reduce the flow of goods, turning the bridge into an underused, expensive investment. Declining personal travel between the countries adds further financial pressure, with Canadian car trips to the US already down 32%. Every lost crossing is lost revenue, jeopardizing the bridge's ability to pay off its massive debt. The bridge has become a symbol of how trade wars can undermine even the most ambitious cross-border projects. What was meant to unite economies now stands as a warning about the costs of protectionism. The future of this modern marvel hangs in the balance. The North American auto industry, once celebrated as a model of cross-border efficiency and seamless cooperation, now finds itself at the epicenter of a growing trade dispute. For decades, automakers and suppliers on both sides of the border have relied on a tightly woven network, where parts and vehicles cross back and forth multiple times before reaching the consumer. But today, that system is under unprecedented strain. Tariffs threaten to shatter these intricate supply chains, with Michigan and Ontario especially vulnerable. 40% of Michigan's auto parts come from Canada, and Ontario's factories depend on American components. The ripple effects of any disruption are immediate and far-reaching, impacting not just manufacturers, but also logistics companies, small suppliers, and local economies. Stellantis's recent shutdown of its Windsor minivan plant sent shockwaves across the border, hurting US suppliers and leaving Canadian workers uncertain about their future. The closure is a stark reminder of how interconnected the industry has become. Industry experts warn that if tariffs persist, more closures and job losses will follow on both sides. The threat is not just to big automakers but to thousands of families who rely on steady paychecks from these plants. The Gordie Howe Bridge's viability is directly tied to auto trade. Declining traffic means declining revenue, putting major infrastructure investments at risk and raising questions about the future of cross-border commerce. The The conflict between protectionist policies and the realities of modern manufacturing is stark. While some advocate for keeping jobs at home, the reality is that today's vehicles are the product of international teamwork and shared expertise. Just-in-time systems, once praised for their efficiency, are now disrupted. Costs rise, delays mount, and the competitiveness of North American automakers suffers in the global market. Hundreds of thousands of jobs now depend on whether this integrated system can withstand the pressure. The stakes are high for workers, their families, and the communities built around these factories. The future of the region's auto sector and its communities hangs in the balance. As uncertainty grows, so does the urgency for solutions that can preserve both prosperity and cross-border cooperation. The trade war is forcing a hard look at the future of US-Canada relations and cross-border infrastructure. The Gordie Howe Bridge was conceived in an era of trust, but tariffs now threaten its purpose and financial viability. If the bridge fails to meet revenue projections, future large-scale projects may be put on hold. Businesses built on predictable, tariff-free trade are now scrambling to adapt, facing inefficiency and higher costs. The challenge is clear: how to reconcile nationalist policies with an economy built on integration. The bridge stands at a crossroads. One path leads to renewed cooperation, the other to division and isolation. The decisions made now will shape the economic landscape for years to come. The fate of North American trade hangs in the balance. The US-initiated trade war has ushered in profound instability for North American commerce. Tariffs meant to protect the American economy have triggered retaliation, disrupted supply chains, and strained the US-Canada partnership. Labor unions are building cross-border alliances, while political leaders reverse positions to align with shifting agendas. Communities like Michigan face business closures and job losses in key sectors. The Gordie Howe Bridge, once a symbol of integration, now stands as a $6.4 billion question mark. This situation highlights the risks of turning inward in a globalized world. The path forward for US-Canada trade remains unsettled, awaiting a resolution that can restore stability and cooperation. The true purpose of the bridge and the future of North American trade has yet to be decided.